my last video, I was really excited about the discovery of the solar lunar calendar. I had physically observed the moon and found a lot of truth in witnessing its appearance in a month cycle. I had personally studied the moon from the start of a new month. I counted 6 days from a crescent moon, and on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, I witnessed a half moon. Then when I counted 7 more days to the next Sabbath, I witnessed a full moon. Again, when I counted 7 days, I was back to a half moon. At this point, I'm really feeling good about what I'm witnessing. Finally, after counting 7 more days, the moon eclipsed. Then for a day, the moon stayed hidden. Sometimes a day, sometimes 2 days. Many recognize this as a translation day. I participated for about 7 months, but in the back of my mind, something didn't line up totally, so I need to make sure that this is the right calendar to follow. A translation day is considered an extra day's rest. A translation day doesn't give you an honest work 6 days and rest 7-day command, because at the end of the month we're adding 8 days, or on some occasions we add 9 days. So even though I'm not ruling out the solar lunar calendar, it's worth investigating to make sure that I'm staying on the right path. With that being said, I found many ancient calendars that have been practiced in past history. I personally knew about the Gregorian calendar. I, for one, and sure many like me that attended church on Sundays, never gave a thought that there are other observers to keeping time. I left the church more than 10 years ago. What I discovered about the Gregorian calendar is that it's a solar-only based calendar, meaning it only keeps record of time by observing the sun. I found that this was easy for Constantine to enforce this rule, being that he was already a pagan sun god worshiper. There is more on this topic, but what I have at this point, I'm ruling out the Gregorian calendar as the Creator's timekeeper. Jubilee 638 reads, "They will not make the year 364 only, and for this reason they will go wrong as to the month and season and Sabbaths and festivals." One thing for sure, you will not find the book of Jubilees in the King James Bible, so if you're like me, you will not have any reckoning of this command. I also find that the book of Enoch was dismantled from the main canon. The only church that recognizes the book of Enoch is the Ethiopian church. So that's another reason why we've never been introduced to any other calendar. Enoch 74:12, "And the sun and the stars bring in all their years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their positions by 1 day forever, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. So what I've learned so far about the Enoch's calendar is it has 30 days each month. The year is divided into 4 segments with 3 30 days months to each segment. That adds up to 90 days each segment. 90 days times 4 equals 360 a year. What I'm understanding about the Enoch calendar is it has 4 30-day seasons. The end of each season always lands on the first calendar day. Yahuah's timeline didn't start until the 4th day. I believe this is the first day of the calendar. Mary seeth 1:14, "And Elohim said, Let light come to be in the space of the Shamayim to separate the Yom from the Layla, and let them be for signs and for appointed times and for yoms and years, and let them be for lights in the space of the Shamayim to give light on the arrest. And it came to be so, and Elohim made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the Yom, the lesser light to give light unto the arrest, and to rule over the Yom and over the Layla, and to separate the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good, and there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the 4th Yom." At this point, we have 4 segments. The first segment would have the first month 30 days, the second month 30 days, and last 30 days plus 1 day, totaling 31 days, because 1 day from each segment was added. Enoch 82, 6 and 7, 1 in the first portal, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, and 1 in the sixth, and the years is completed in the 364 days. Their accounting is perfect, and their reckoning of them is exact for the luminaries, months, and festivals, and years and days. So at this point, I find incredible favor in the Enoch calendar from where I was with the lunar solar calendar. They're both very similar in their observance. It was late March 2023 when I first became introduced to the lunar solar calendar. It was around a week or more before the first month of the new year. There were some very known channels, more than one, that was preparing for the Passover. I had read before and saw how then, as the Old Testament, how the Passover, the Feast of Weeks, the Feast of Unleavened Bread was observed. But I thought those ceremonies were only for the Hebrews. Before that time, late March 2023, I was only familiar with the Gregorian calendar. This calendar is seen by many as the Creator's true timekeeper. I was very excited to learn more about this new calendar that I had no knowledge of ever existing. In January 2022, I became ill. We had got through most of the pandemic without being infected at that point. Everything on my job was getting back to normal. They were lighting up on mask mandates, etc. Through all of this, I was totally against taking the vaccine that was being mandated around the country. I had a government job, but the job wasn't government regulated. I didn't agree with the mask wearing, but was forced to wear it sometimes during the day. My wife and I were never infected during that time frame. So when I became ill, I wasn't even thinking that it could be COVID. The symptoms that I was having mainly was a bad headache and some flu-like symptoms like fever and body ache. I was willing to ride it out. But my wife saw things differently. I was really interested in wearing a mask. She faithfully wore her mask on the job and outside of the job. So the battle was when I got sick that I needed to get to the hospital. I was finally talked into going after my mom's sister and other family got involved. So after waiting 7 hours in the emergency room, I was diagnosed, tested, given an aspirin, and sent home. I felt bad for the next 3 or 4 days. I had family support from my side and my wife's side, bringing soup, drinks, and other supplies. I'm not big on medicines. I try to avoid medication as much as possible. So after 4 days, I'm starting to feel better. I get my test results back stating positive for COVID. My next thought was, wow, I had COVID. Me and my wife were already quarantined at the house because we weren't sure if it was COVID. So we're home about 10 days until we get a negative reading for COVID. So when I get back to work, some people were acting as if they saw a ghost. There were a lot of good people that were supportive and were welcoming, but there were a few that were asking, hey, what you doing back? I heard you were sick. I'm like, yeah, I was sick, but not sick to where I can't come back to work. I even had someone from upper management say, man, I heard you were sick. I said, yeah, mostly a headache and some flu-like symptoms. He said, no, I heard you was real sick. I had just said I had some flu-like symptoms. I had heard stories about people that were in fatal car accidents that were being recorded as dying of COVID. So going back into Enoch's calendar, we have 4 seasons with 3 30-day months and 1 extra day in each month, but that day is not added until the end of the year. I can say this much, the researchers I've been gathering information from have spent many years in study with these calendars. I've only known a few months, so I'm leaning on someone else's studies. I'm picking up information while making this video, so I'm not sure where it's going to end up. While I was editing my video, I came across one of my YouTube resource channels. This video title was Yahushua is Yahuah. I recommend for everyone to watch. It gave me a different understanding on how we are to receive the Father's name. I was thinking that Yahuwah and Yahushua's name was one and the same, thinking that it didn't matter on which name you called upon. Both names are the same power. But following the scripture that was shown, Yahuwah is the only name by which we can be delivered. It's a good video found on Promote the Truth. I'm trying to keep a straight line when following scriptures, so if I find myself in error, I won't hesitate to change my thinking. My desire is to be a faithful witness, not going down a road to destruction. So now when I got to thinking on things, my thoughts were, am I attaining Yahuwah's name in any way? I mean, am I leaning towards my own thoughts, or am I allowing Yahuwah to lead me? I'm questioning myself whether I'm being too worldly in making these videos, because the Pharisees spent a great effort in trying to conceal Yahuwah's name. Now that his name has been revealed, am I keeping his Ruach HaKodesh set apart from the things of this world? If this have been what I've been doing, then I pray for the Father's forgiveness. And if that's the case, I will repent and either end or alter these videos. I want to live my life for Yahuwah and not for myself. There is a lot of information that appears to be credible, but Yahuwah is not an author of confusion. So what calendar should we be following? Some of the things I'm hearing about in the book of Enoch can be validated. There is credible information on the lunar solar calendar. We must ask the question, are these calendars from Yahuwah, or is it man-made? For the Enoch calendar, the first month of the new year starts on day 1. The Sabbath day falls on day 1, day 8, day 15, day 22, day 29. We have one day that carries over into the next month, month 2. We bring the first day from the first month going into the month 2. We count 5 days, equaling 6 working days. We bring the Sabbath day to day 6. Month 2 Sabbaths fall on day 6, day 13, day 20, day 27. 3 days are carried over to month 3. 3 days from month 2, adding 3 days equals 6 working days, brings our Sabbath day to day 4, month 3. When we add our work days between Sabbaths, our Sabbath days are day 4, day 11, day 18, day 25. Month 3 is the end of the spring season, so we count 5 days from the previous month plus 1 day going to the next season equals 6 days. Month 4 begins a new season. The Sabbath days are day 1, day 8, day 15, day 22, day 29. Month 4 carries 1 day over into month 5. 1 plus 5 work days equals 6, bringing our Sabbath day to day 6. Sabbath days are day 6, day 13, day 20, day 27. Month 10 Sabbath days are day 1, day 8, day 15, day 22, day 29. So we carry a day over to month 11. So month 11 we add 1 day from the previous month plus 5 days equals 6 days, brings the Sabbath day to day 6. Sabbath days are day 6, day 13, day 20, day 27. 3 days from the previous month plus 3 days for month 12 brings our Sabbath day to day 4. Counting the last 5 days of the year plus 1 gives us a total of 364 days. This brings us back to day 1 where our calendar starts over for a new year. For what I can see, it looks perfectly aligned. No drifting can be seen. Unlike the Gregorian calendar that has 365.24 days and has to be reset every 4 years by adding a leap year. So this is how I perceive the Enoch calendar. The lunar solar calendar is a time system I've been following for about 7 months. It was explained how the new moon began a new month. This is seen by the first lighting of the moon. This occurred after the moon disappeared at the end of the previous month. When I observed the first 2 months, I believe I could see the alignment. After the new moon, I saw the first week a half moon, the second week a full moon, the third week back to a half moon, and then the moon fading into the next month. But when I got to month 4, 5, and 6, things in the sky didn't look the same as it did the first 2 months. I know sometimes bad weather could play a role in the observance, like clouds appearing at certain times. Today I noticed while I was outside facing east, the moon was at about 10 o'clock and the sun was at about 3 o'clock. This was about 5:45 Eastern Time. The way I understand it, the sun cycles 364 days in a year to where the moon lunar solar system cycles 354 days a year. This causes a forward drift, which causes an extra month to be added. I've been following this system for about 7 months, but at this time, I'm not completely sold on it. I need a lot more studying for sure. I know those who follow the lunar solar calendar. On each month of the year, the Sabbath is always on the same day of the month, which is day 8, day 15, 22, and 29. But I believe that's looking from the lunar solar calendar. Its starting point is at the moon spring equinox. I'm sure there's scriptures that can validate these claims. But right now, at this point, I'm favoring the Enoch calendar. You can get a better description of the Enoch calendar by reading the Book of the Heavenly Luminaries. Enoch 72:13, the sun returns to the east and comes to the sixth gate, and rises and set in the sixth gate for 31 mornings because of its sign. This verse is tied at the end of each season when we add the extra day at the end of the season, making 31 days. For example, the spring season, month 1 and 2 had 30 days, but month 3 had 31 days, adding an extra day for the end of the month and ending the season. Genesis 18:1-3, and Yahuah appeared to him by the terebinth tree of Mamre while he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the yom. So he lifted up his eyes and looked and saw 3 men standing opposite of him. And when he saw them, he ran from his tent door to meet them and bowed himself to the ground and said, Yahuah, if I have found favor in your eyes, please do not pass your servant by.